Unbreakable, what you thought they call me, Mr. Glass?
First of all, if you take glass, subtract a GL, you get ass. What's going on, bosses? I'm Tyrone Bacons. First off, I'm just going to let you guys know there's going to be spoilers, a ton of spoilers. In M. Night Shyamalan's... And you motorboating son of a bitch, you. And just like any M. Night Shyamalan film, there is not one, but two plot twists. Before talking about Glass, there's like one thing that really annoyed me. You know how they had the flashing light to subdue the Beast and also Bruce Willis's character David Dunn? Why couldn't they just close their eyes and escape or walk backwards? Okay, let's talk about a crazy concept. What if Mr. Glass is the greatest hero in the Unbreakable universe? Okay, so we're going to have to give a little bit of context. So in Unbreakable, Samuel Jackson's character, Elijah Price, is trying to convince David Dunn that he has superpowers. David Dunn survives a train crash, and he's the sole survivor of the train crash. So Elijah Price, throughout the whole film, is trying to convince him that he has superpowers, and he kind of explains that comic books are a written form of history of people with superpowers, and people with superpowers have existed for thousands and thousands of years. In the end, the plot twist is Elijah Price is known as a villain called Mr. Glass. It's because he has this disease where his bones are very brittle. And the plot twist that's finally revealed is Mr. Glass created these, I believe it's like 3 terrorist attacks in search of this superpowered being. And I think the reason why a lot of people don't like Unbreakable is because the way it ends is very anticlimactic, because it just shows text showing what happened to Mr. Price, Mr. Glass. He gets sent into an insane asylum, and it just shows it by text. So there's no big showdown or whatever or anything. Then M. Night Shyamalan decides to make a movie years later called Split, and it's about a guy that has multiple personalities, and he's kidnapping girls and feeding it to his ultimate form, final form, which is the Beast. And the Beast has superhuman strength, has there's the skin is tough. He can climb walls, he can climb ceilings. At the end of the movie, you find out that Split takes place in the Unbreakable universe, because you actually see Bruce Willis's character, David Dunn. Okay, now we're going into spoiler territory with Glass. So Bruce Willis and his son are like a tag team superhero unit. They're trying to figure out who the Beast is, and they're trying to catch the Beast. He manages to bump into Kevin Wendell Crumb, and he notices, you know, how he has the power where he can, when he touches someone, he can see things. So he figures out he's the Beast. They get into this fight, and they both eventually get caught. They get sent to a mental institute, and lo and behold, Mr. Glass is also in this mental institute. Sarah Paulson is a psychiatrist, and she's trying to convince all 3 of them, the Beast, the Overseer, which is Bruce Willis's character, and Mr. Glass, that they're just normal human beings.
Look at how she is right now. She's such a goon right now.
And she has like 3 days. She has 3 days to convince that they're just regular human beings. Or, I don't know what happens to them. They get litigated. Mr. Glass is in this catatonic state. You know, he kind of reminds me of Joker in The Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, where he just doesn't speak, and he's just staring into the wall. Eventually, Mr. Glass he was acting the whole time, and he is going to create another terrorist act on a building. Samuel Jackson, when he came out in that suit looking like Prince, and he wants Mr. Beast and the Overseer to have this epic fight so that the world can see that superpowered beings exist. Also, what's crazy is there's a scene in Unbreakable that foreshadows the battle between the Beast and the Overseer. So they have this epic fight, and the first plot twist that is revealed is the same train accident that the Overseer Bruce David Dunn survived was the same train accident that killed Kevin Wendell Crumb's dad, aka the Beast. And if it wasn't for that train accident, he wouldn't have been raised by his mom, his abusive mom, which in turn created the Beast. So technically, Mr. Glass created two of these superpowered beings. But there is a final plot twist where it's revealed that Sarah Paulson is part of this secretive group that suppresses people from finding out that superpowered beings exist. And she says that they've been around for thousands of years. And eventually, like, her job is to convince that you don't have superpowers, then we won't kill you. And towards the end of the movie, all three superpowered beings get killed. So what if Mr. Glass was the hero? The reason why I say that is he's more like a Ozymandias type of character where he does bad for the greater good. The reason why I say that is I think it was his whole intention. He knew about the secret society. And so I also think that he knew that the secret society was killing off superpowered beings. And he knew that fact. So what he did was he let himself get caught. And I mean, you see it in the film. He went through a verbal abuse and physical abuse because the nurses that were taking care of him were berating him and also like breaking his bones on purpose. So I feel like his end game was to get caught and show the world that superpowered beings exist, but self-sacrificing. I think he knew. He even said it. He said this wasn't a crossover, a tie-in where the heroes and villains battle it out. He said it was more of an origin story. So he had this plan the whole time. His end game was to make sure that superpowered beings exist. Doing so, pretty much sacrificed himself and sacrificed the Overseer and the Beast so that other superpowered beings can survive. And I don't know. What do you guys think? Do you think he was a hero? Or do you think he was a villain? All right, peace out, bosses.